How's everyone doing? This is going to be a what didn't make the shelf video. I've got 19 Blu-rays and DVDs that didn't make the shelf, and it's all horror. So we've got 19 horror movies right here. Let me know if you've seen any of them and what you think of them, and let me know which one of these is your favorite. Leave me those comments down below. And there are some movies in here that I do enjoy. Some of them are going to be upgrades, and then there's some movies that I like, but I just don't see myself rewatching them again. And if I can't see myself rewatching a movie, it's gotta go. I don't want to have things just to have them. Space is at a premium. And in the past 7 years, I've sold over 8,000 DVDs and over 4,500 Blu-rays. So I've hit a bit of an impasse now. When you've sold that many, it gets harder and harder to trim down the collection, at least for me. Hashtag collector problems. But yeah, I don't want to have things in my collection just to have them. If I can't see myself rewatching them, it's got to go. And realistically, how many movies can we rewatch in our lifetime? And I get about 30 movies in each month, so I try to get that many out the door as well. I'm doing less blind buys now, so that's kind of helping me a bit. And this is a video series where I show you movies in my collection that didn't make the shelf, aka the collection. And I want to have a collection that I love. And I see a lot of people posting that they have thousands of movies that they've never opened. They buy movies that they have no intention of opening and watching. And that's just not for me. It's a constant ebb and flow. So I'm always trying to curate it to, my personal interests in, having a collection that I truly enjoy, love, and movies I want to watch. That's a continuation in this series. Look forward to more videos like this where I'm trying to thin down the collection. And I think this is a fun video series to do. It also helps me. It's cathartic. And you guys seem to enjoy watching these as well. So I appreciate the support. But let's go ahead and get into it. First up is The Lost Boys, an all-time classic vampire movie. Let me know what your favorite vampire movie is. I feel like this is always in the mentions for being in the top. Fright Night is another one, especially for 80s. But one that I think is like really underrated is Vamp. Innocent Blood is another one. The Afflicted, never hear anybody talk about that one. That was a found footage one. My favorite vampire movie of all time is 30 Days of Night. I love horror movies with a snowy setting. The blood pops on the snow. The vampires are just gritty, dirty, nasty, raw. The language, just everything about them, super tense. But this one is directed by Joel Schumacher, who I really love as a director. Let me know what your favorite Joel Schumacher film is. Batman and Robin, Batman and Forever. But he directed Time to Kill, Falling Down, 8mm, The Client. Just a bunch of films that I really enjoy. One that I think is super, and Flatliners as well, which recently got a 4K that I have to pick up. That's going to be another upgrade, but I'm probably actually going to keep the Steelbook for that one because I do like that Steelbook. But one that I think is super underrated from Joel Schumacher is Blood Creek. I never hear anybody talk about that one. Blood Creek is an awesome undead Nazi movie, and there's been like a wave of those ones, but that one just seemed to fly under the radar. And it has an amazing cast. You have Henry Cavill, Dominic Purcell, and Michael Fassbender. Remember when Michael Fassbender used to do horror movies? I mean, Eden Lake is one of my all-time favorites, and Blood Creek I think is super underrated. It only has a DVD release here in the US. It definitely deserves a Blu-ray release. High recommendation for Blood Creek and Eden Lake for that matter. But looking forward to upgrading this one to 4K. And I'm going to pick that up soon. I've heard good things about the transfer, so that's exciting. I've heard good things about the transfer for Poltergeist as well. But this is the original sparkly vampires right here. Great cast, great 80s horror. Love the heck out of this one. I remember having a big crush on Jamie Gertz back in the day, but you've got, the Frog Brothers, both Corey's in here. And then, of course, Kiefer Sutherland and Diane Wiest, and just a whole bunch of recognizable people. Really great cast. The soundtrack, too. The saxophone guy, that's just kind of hilarious. He does conventions, which I think is funny. And while I've heard great things about the transfers for the 4Ks for The Lost Boys and Poltergeist, the artwork could have been better. The Lost Boys with the slipcover, that artwork is actually better than the Steelbook version. But I don't know why they just didn't go with this classic recognizable artwork, and the same thing for Poltergeist. That is like one of the most iconic, recognizable poster artwork ever for a movie. With the TV, Carol Ann, classic, and the artwork for that one is atrocious. I remember seeing like a meme floating around and making fun of the new artwork for Poltergeist, where it says it looks like Coach is on the porch twerking. and it looked ridiculous. And it's true though. I mean, it's such a terrible shot for that one. The Steelbook one for Poltergeist actually does look better. I like that design, but I still feel like they should have gone with the classic artwork for that one. And this one too is iconic. So great things for the transfers, but not so good things for the cover art. And I feel like they should listen to the fans. It makes me think of the Sonic movie with Paramount. They did the teaser trailer, and the outcry from fans, they were saying it looks terrible, terrifying, Sonic, and the look, and they redesigned them. They listened to the fans, and it turned out to be good. And I feel like they should do the same thing. The overwhelming negativity for those artwork choices out there, I mean, it's just kind of shocking. They should have listened to their consumer base. And we shall see if they listen in the future, because there's been some other artwork reveals that haven't been so good. While I am very happy that they're getting the 4K treatment and good transfers, you know, we are physical media collectors. We'd like to see good artwork as well. The packaging does matter for a lot of us. I know not everybody. You don't watch the packaging. Some of the comments that I got, yeah, I get that, but you're still paying a premium price. And if you're a physical media collector, you want something that looks good on your shelf that you can display. You know, sometimes I put certain ones on display, and I'm not going to put the Poltergeist one or the Lost Boys 4Ks for the cover art, that's for sure. End mini rant right there. You know, I digress. Let's get back to it. But definitely let me know what your favorite movie poster artwork of all time is, and let me know what your favorite Blu-ray and 4K artwork has been, like newly commissioned artwork or just, you know, different shots, and your least favorite as well. I feel like there's been some recent ones. I think Poltergeist might be my least favorite, but definitely let me know yours. And there really has been some great artwork out there too. I definitely appreciate when companies hire an artist and they have newly commissioned artwork, and sometimes that turns out to be an amazing thing. We've seen that a lot of times. Just some ones recently haven't been the case as much, but I do think there's a lot of great artists out there lending their works to Blu-ray and 4K releases, and I'm thankful for that. And I hope to see more great artwork in the future for 4K and Blu-ray releases, especially for the horror realm. So this is a movie that I absolutely love, and the only reason I'm getting rid of this particular copy, the Blu-ray copy, is to, again, upgrade for the 4K copy that just came out. So a lot of times I'm getting rid of movies that I love only to, again, upgrade them to get them in the best possible picture and audio quality. Just an all-time classic right here, and can't wait to upgrade that one and check out the new transfer for it. Next up is another upgrade, Evil Dead. Eden Lake's on my mind now, but this just got a 4K release as well from Fede Alvarez. I love Don't Breathe too, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in the future directing wise. And this was his feature-length directorial debut. He did a bunch of short films prior, but this is an incredible horror remake, one of my favorites, top 10 for me. Let me know what your favorite horror remake is. There's some really good ones out there, but this one is just super dirty and bloody and just an intense ride, and I love it so friggin' much. Can't wait to upgrade this one and check out the new transfer for it from Scream Factory. Next up is Paranormal Activity 2 and Paranormal Activity The Marked Ones. These are my two favorite in the franchise. I actually did like Next of Kin, which recently came out, and I heard a lot of negative reviews for that one, but one of my favorites in the franchise. Actually, I take it back. Next of Kin is probably my I'd say this is my favorite in the franchise, then Next to Kin, and then I think this one. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I'm pretty sure I remember really enjoying this one. The only one that I haven't seen in the franchise is Ghost Dimension, and I haven't heard good things about that one. But the first one is like one of my least favorite. I think it's one of the most overrated horror movies in history. This, the original Paranormal Activity, and then the Blair Witch Project, the original one, two most overrated horror movies in history. They always talk about the marketing. But again, like for Blair Witch Project, if you are over the age of 5 and you believed a real witch lived in the woods in Maryland, I got a bridge to sell you. But I get it, the marketing, but for me, those movies, they're just not scary. It's just nothing. People wandering around a house or the woods, and then just a cheap jump scare at the end, or just somebody standing in the corner at the end. There was no scares. I don't understand the appeal for those movies, but I'm kind of glad they had the popularity that they did, because found footage isn't my favorite genre, but there are some good ones out there. And because of that, there's been more independent, low-budget filmmaking and things like that. So they've helped usher in, a new wave right there, and it brought in some good films. And again, I do like marked ones a lot. So I really am looking forward to getting the box set, which is why I'm getting rid of these ones, because it's the only way to get Next of Kin. It comes in the box set. And I was hoping for 4Ks, even though, you know, it's found footage, but no 4Ks yet, but maybe in the future, we'll see. But yeah, just getting rid of these ones to upgrade. Again, it's a mixed bag for this franchise for me. Let me know. I know I am in the super slim minority in, you know, not liking the original Blair Witch Project and the original Paranormal Activity. But let me know what your favorite found footage movie is. There's some good ones out there. Lake Mungo, for me, is super creepy. Rec 2 is probably my favorite of that franchise. The Poughkeepsie tapes, those are some of my favorites right there. The Afflicted, which I mentioned before, found footage vampire movie. But there we go. Just some upgrades right here for these. There's going to be another upgrade, I think, in here too. So stay tuned. Next up is Monster Party. I picked this up at the Dollar Tree. It's basically these people are kind of going undercover for this dinner party. They're you know, serving people, but then they want to essentially, you know, hold them up and steal from them. But it turns out this home burglary goes awry because the dinner party that they're serving happens to be for serial killers, like Serial Killers Anonymous, essentially. And the concept is ridiculous. There's one scene that I really liked, but it felt so out of place, it just didn't really work. There's a certain character you're introduced to, and it's like awesome, but also like it doesn't work. So it's just like, I don't know how I feel. And it was just over so quickly too. So I feel like that was a really missed opportunity. And I feel like the acting was pretty terrible outside of a few people. You have some recognizable people in here. Robin Tunney, a few other, Julie McMahon, a few other recognizable people. But from some of the lesser known actors, the acting was rough. So I just feel like this was below average to me, and one that I'm not going to revisit. Even though I really liked that one scene, it was over too quickly, and it just didn't fit though. But I like that they took a chance. It just, it would have been, I feel like, better fitted for a different movie, better suited. Next up is Candyman, Day of the Dead, the Vestron Video Collector Series. Worst in the franchise, and I feel like Candyman deserved a much better franchise than what he got. He's an icon. Tony Todd's incredible in the role. The first Candyman movie, one of my favorite slashers, one of my favorite 90s horror movies. Let me know what your favorite slasher movie is, your favorite slasher character icon, your favorite 90s horror movie. But the second Candyman movie, not good. This one, terrible. Even with Donna D'Errico here, you know, as the eye candy, awful. Battle of attrition to sit through. And then the recent Candyman movie, I liked, but I can understand the criticism of it. But I still think it was a good movie. I feel like Tony Todd could have still played, you know, what they did, they changed it up with a little bit, and I appreciate what they did. I feel like it's ushering in, fitting for the kind of like a new wave of horror, having, there's, you know, political undertones to a lot of horror movies. I remember talking about that for George A. Romero's classic Dead trilogy, and people were saying, what are you talking about? There's no social, you know, political undertones there. It's like, you must be blind or not paying attention. And I feel like that's the case for a lot of horror movies, and people just don't seem to get it. But so I don't know, I feel like that's, especially in today's society, it comes with the territory almost. So if some people were upset with that aspect, but I think it worked. But again, I would have liked to see Tony Todd had a bigger role in that one. But yeah, this one was super disappointing. New artwork there, which is cool. Newly commissioned artwork. I'm looking forward to seeing what Vestron Video does in you know, the coming up, the next releases, because I love their Vestron Video Collector series, and I want to see more. I feel like it was coming in hot, coming in strong, and then just kind of fizzled. And now we're lucky to get a release, you know, a couple releases a year. So let's keep supporting them though, even though I don't like this one. And I'm not one of those people to be a completionist. Like if I don't like a movie, I'm not going to keep it because I have other movies in the franchise, like Hellraiser. There was a point where I had all of them, and I was like, most of these movies are terrible. Like, how many movies are in that franchise now? Like 13? And then there's the new Hellraiser movie, which I haven't seen yet, but I'm looking forward to checking that one out. And the trailer looked super creepy to me. So I love the look to the Cenobites. I know there's people who didn't like the casting choice for, you know, the Pinhead character. But I thought the look actually, you know, turned out good from the trailer from what I saw. So we'll see. And I guess in the book, Clive Barker's book, it was actually a female character initially. And I know, yeah, there's more, but that's, I'm not going to try to judge by political aspects or ideology like that. I'm judging on if it's a good movie, and I feel like some people don't do that. But yeah, I feel like that was one of the ones where I had the whole franchise, and I was like, I like Hellworld. I feel like that doesn't get enough love, but outside of the first three in Hellworld, most of those ones are nearly unwatchable for me. Especially the past couple ones that got physical media releases, I was not a fan. I know some people actually like the most recent one, but Doug Bradley, he could have been brought back too. But anyways, not keeping this one because I don't like it. Pretty simple there, but it does have good special features if you somehow you are a fan of this one. But yeah, Dias de Muerte, Day of the Dead. I want to see more horror movies dealing with, concepts of that too. I think there's stuff that could be done there. I recently just watched Coco for the first time, not horror, but that was actually a really good animated movie. I'm not too big on, kids movies and stuff like that, but I really enjoyed that one. But I feel like it also opens up that realm where more could be done in the horror aspect for Day of the Dead, Dias de Muerte. But next up, we've got Predators, which is another one that I'm going to, that I actually already upgraded. I'm just getting rid of because I upgraded. I have the 4K box set with all the Predator movies, except for the recent one, Prey, which just came out, which I'm not a fan of. Honestly, I thought it was super overhyped. People were saying it's the second best Predator movie in the franchise. For me, it's the second worst in the franchise. For me, it goes Predator, Predator 2, I actually really enjoy this one. I would put Predators in, and it was the recent one. I actually put Alien vs. Predator, and then the one with Thomas Jane, The Predator. I know it's not perfect. It's very, messy and unbalanced, but I think it was entertaining enough. And then I would put Prey, and then Alien vs. Predator 2, Requiem, which I thought was a dumpster fire of a movie. But I thought Prey was just not that inspired. It wasn't that great. You don't see the Predator that much. The lead character was not the best character in the movie. And I feel like a lot of people were just hyping it up so much because it has representation of Native American people, which I'm all for. And it has representation for a female lead, which I'm all for. But that doesn't give it a pass just on those aspects alone. It still has to be a good movie. And it really wasn't. There's some nods to previous movies in the franchise, but I just didn't think it was anything standout or special. I wanted more from the kills. I wanted more from everything in that. Pretty much. It had great cinematography, great establishing shots and shooting locations and stuff like that. And, the score and stuff. But outside of that, there wasn't a lot to talk about. And I just felt like all the praise just, it wasn't for me. It didn't resonate for me. I wanted more from it, especially with all the hype. So I was let down by that one. But I thought this was actually a really entertaining one. One of the things I remember initially disliking about it was Topher Grace's character. I thought he was miscast, but I think that was kind of the point. But I like the cast a lot in here. And even Adrian Brody, initially going in, I remember thinking, like, that's not going to work. But yeah, it was the same thing I remember when Maniac, Elijah Wood was cast. I was like, Frodo? That's not going to work. But then it turned out to be great. The Maniac remake is one of my favorite horror remakes too. Top 10 for me. But yeah, I thought Adrian Brody actually turned out to be really good in here. And, you've got a bunch of other recognizable people in here. And of course, you can't see all the names because it's minute and they don't always mention all the names. But Danny Trejo's in here. Lawrence Fishburne, a bunch of really good, well-known actors. And I thought this was a really entertaining, action-packed horror thrill ride. So for me, Prey is second worst in the franchise. I think I'm the only one that feels that way. Let me know where you would rank Prey. Let me know, do you enjoy this one? And again, the recent The Predator with Thomas Jane, I don't think that one is a great movie, but I would still think it's more entertaining for me than Prey. Next up is Conjuring 2. Just because people like certain movies and they're popular, it doesn't mean you have to like them. You like what you like, and it's movies. It's all subjective. If we all like the same thing, movies will become boring. But Conjuring 2, my least favorite movie in the Conjuring realm, and my least favorite James Wan movie, Death Sentence, is super underrated, and that needs a Blu-ray release. It doesn't have a Blu-rays here in the U.S. But Dead Silence used to be my favorite in James Wan directed movies. But now Malignant, I love that movie so freaking much. Incredible movie. Makes me think of like Basket Case and a bunch of like older 80s horror movies and some giallo undertones in there too. But Death Sentence, check that one out if you haven't. And yeah, Dead Silence too. But let me know your favorite James Wan movie. I feel like the first Conjuring movie is nothing new conceptually, but it's one of the best of its ilk for the haunting kind of movies. But this one to me was just way too formulaic, predictable, cliched, just so many tropes. Nothing stood out. And I think a lot of people gravitated towards it because it's set in the UK and it's based on a story that happened That was obviously debunked. But isn't this the one where he's singing the Elvis song? That felt out of place too. It's just cheap jump scares, and everything was so predictable and formulaic. They're in a room with the crosses, just a whole bunch of crosses. Of course, they're all gonna flip around upside down. And then there's the one where they push the little toy into like the little teepee thing, and of course it's gonna get pushed back. There's all those things you can see coming a mile away, and just cheap jump scares. I just felt like this was cheap overall. But I know I'm in the super minority in thinking that, because I hear most people love this one, and it's their favorite in the Conjuring franchise. So to each their own. This is one I'm going to trade. It's brand new, still sealed Blu-ray DVD copy. If anybody's interested, in any of these, let me know. I will sell or trade them as well, but I'm kind of picky for what I'm looking for trade-wise, but I'm open. Next up are the DVDs. Those are all the Blu-rays. I've got 2 copies of The Stand, the original miniseries, and then the recent miniseries. The definitive 2-series collection. These are, again, both DVDs. This one's opened, and this one's brand new, still sealed. I have the original miniseries on Blu-ray, and I want to pick up the recent one on Blu-ray because, again, I have the first one on Blu-ray, and I want to have it in the best possible picture and audio quality. So I know not everybody cares about that, and I love the original miniseries directed by Mick Garris. So, yeah, I mean, he did Sleepwalkers, which I remember loving as a kid. I know not everybody loves that one too, but I definitely enjoy it. And he did the Shining TV miniseries, which apparently Stephen King liked better than Kubrick's version. To each their own, but I haven't seen the recent one. It's got Whoopi Goldberg, James Marsden, Alexander Skarsgård, I believe, is in here too, Heather Graham, and J.K. Simmons, Greg Kinnear, a bunch of people. But I remember loving the original one. I feel like it's going to be hard to live up to that for me, but looking forward to checking it out. Again, only getting rid of, I got 2 copies of this, and I didn't initially intend to do that. So there you go. If anybody's interested in those ones, let me know. But I'm going to get the recent one on Blu-ray, and I have the other one already on Blu-ray, the original. Next up is The Midnight Man. I heard good things about this one. I love the kills in here. The kills were awesome, but everything else didn't work for me. Actually, I take it back. And Lynn Shay, super freaking creepy. I recently unlocked a whole new realm of horror that I feel like should be more popular, and it's gaining traction. Elderly horror, old people horror, The Taking of Deborah Logan, another great found footage movie. Why didn't I mention that earlier? That's one of my all-time favorites too, that just popped in my head. But if you haven't seen The Taking of Deborah Logan, which got a Blu-ray release not too long, I want to say maybe 2 years ago now, maybe a year, I can't remember now, but I feel like that really flew under the radar. But please check out The Taking of Deborah Logan. Super creepy to me, and a great found footage horror movie, and great elderly old people horror movie too. But The Visit was another one in that realm, and then recently X. There's been a few ones, but I feel like there's been kind of a little bit of a wave now, and I'd like to see more of that. But Lynn Shay in here, she plays the grandmother character, and the granddaughter's like watching her, and the mother passed away, and they have this game that her and her friend find in the attic, and it's the Midnight Man game, and they find that all these people who played it passed away, except for, there's some people that are still there, and you can see certain things coming a little bit, but I just feel like it wasn't good. It just was kind of falls flat. The acting wasn't great. Robert Englund is in here too as the doctor, but of course that there's going to be a connection to later. I just wanted more from this on every level, essentially, except for the practical effects. The gore effects were awesome, and Lynn Shay was awesome, but everything else just didn't really work, and I was bummed. And I was actually thinking about keeping it because the kills were so freaking good, and Lynn Shay was so creepy and awesome. But I just can't. I can't rationalize it for those reasons, because to sit through, I'd rather watch like a highlight reel essentially than sit through the rest of this movie again. This is a Scream Factory release, but yeah, I know a lot of people do like this one, and the look to the Midnight Man is kind of creepy too. And I feel like there's a lot of ones like this. The Bye Bye Man. What was the other one? Empty Man, which doesn't have a Blu-ray release, which actually was really good. I've got a custom or bootleg for that one. But yeah, that one deserves a official release too, Empty Man. But I just feel like there's a lot of ones in that realm. different kind of boogeyman aspects. Next up there's a few in here that I haven't seen, had in my collection for a while. I'm like, it's time to let them go. I'm probably not going to watch them. I got to prioritize what I watch, and my watch list is huge, and it keeps getting added to. So these ones, I remember when Blockbuster closed down, I got a ton of movies for $1. And, you know, the Dollar Tree movies, I got a bunch of those ones, and then I just realized they're just sitting, collecting dust. And if I'm not going to watch them, and I don't really have any interest in watching them, gotta go. But next up is, you know, Bram Stoker's Van Helsing. It looks like it's just a really low-budget take on that concept. I remember, you know, the Van Helsing with Kate Beckinsale and Hugh Jackman. The CG effects not so great, but it was still a fun ride. But this one, to me, it doesn't look like it's going to be very good, so it's time to let this one go. I just feel like I'd much rather watch a bunch of other movies. Next up is one that I have seen, The Sand, and I think it's really interesting because Jamie Kennedy's in here, and you'd think he'd be like right on the front cover, or more prominent. He's just got a kind of a spoiler scene right there, in fact. But this reminds me a lot of Blood Beach, which I remember loving as a kid. And that one doesn't have an official release, and that one definitely needs one. I've heard talks for a long time about that getting a release from different companies, but I hope that gets a Blu-ray release soon. I'm really enjoying that one. But yeah, this one's just basically very similar to that. There's a creature underneath the sand killing people, and the acting was terrible. It was just rough to sit through. So this one's got to go. Definitely a paycheck movie for Jamie Kennedy, who's been in just a lot of paycheck movies. The Tremors, some of the Tremors sequels, which are terrible. But yeah, I remember watching that one and just hating it. And I don't know why this one, I still have it, and it's time to go. It's actually brand new, still sealed. This is brand new, still sealed too. I got a few other brand new, still sealed ones again, because there's some ones that I just feel like I had for a while. I'm just not going to watch. Next up is Jackals. Let me know if I'm the only one that have done that. You've had movies for years and years, and you've never watched them, and you're thinking like now, like, why did I get those? At the time, you were really excited, and you know, sometimes it could be a hidden gem. You know, potential, you know, low risk, high reward factor, especially for Dollar Tree and, you know, places that are going out of business. You can get them for cheap. But Jackals right here, which is another Scream Factory release. You've got Jonathan Skaich, Stephen Dorff, and some other recognizable people here. Deborah Kara Unger. This is basically about a cult, and it had the potential to be a lot better than it was. And they basically, you know, they kidnapped a certain character, but then you find out it's his son, and they're trying to keep him from the cult, and the cult leaders are, you know, attacking them. They have to fight to survive. I thought it was interesting, but it wasn't as good as it could have been. I just think it was a missed opportunity. I like the concept here, but it just doesn't fully come to fruition. So this one's got to go. Next up is the Amityville Moon, a werewolf movie that was just a dumpster fire of a movie. This director is Thomas J. Churchill. I remember he directed, like, there's at least 3 films that he's directed with Amityville in the title. And I wanted to like this one, but it was goofy. It's just somebody in, you know, a werewolf costume that you look like you can get from like Spirit Halloween or something. It was not good. It was just, the acting was terrible too. I wanted to like it. They actually sent me a promo box for this movie to help like promote it. And the promo box was cool. I had candle, incense, all kinds of fun stuff. But the movie itself was just not good. I love the cover though too. But not a good werewolf movie. Let me know what your favorite werewolf movie is. I feel like the top 3 that everybody always says, American Werewolf in London, Dog Soldiers, and Silver Bullet. Those are usually like the top 3. But a couple that I think are super underrated, Howl, which is a British werewolf movie. Howl deserves so much more love and attention. Love the heck out of that one. And then Wolf of Snow Hollow, which I think is a really unique take on the werewolf genre. And the one that I like that everybody seems to hate is American Werewolf in Paris. I hope that gets a Blu-ray release here in the US. I always love that one. Julie Delpy. Next up is the Blackout Experiment. It says a doctor forces 6 strangers to participate in a grisly experiment where they take the life of another captive in order to save the life of a loved one. The concept for this kind of reminds me of Would You Rather. That one I actually really enjoyed. But this one, to me, some of the shots and clips just look really not good. Low budget, poor acting, and I'm not that interested in it. And another one on that kind of same page where I've had it for a while and I'm not interested, is A Psycho's Path with Quentin Rampage Jackson from the UFC. And it's basically about a killer being apprehended and escaping a mental institution and I guess killing people in this small town. I was kind of curious to check it out for Rampage, but I don't know. Again, the shots and the clips just look kind of rough. So time to let that one go. This one to me, there's a few Wild Eye movies in here, I believe. I know these two are Wild Eye. So maybe just these two, but Wild Eye has had some rough movies for me. They've had only a couple that I've really enjoyed. But these ones, or the next two are Wild Eye releases. Don't Look, which that cover just looks cheesy to me. It looks like it's just trying to be so many other horror movies. And it's this 5 friends from New York City go to a rural getaway holiday vacation, and they're being, I guess, stalked by a psycho. And it's a modern female-directed twist on classic 80s slasher films. It just feels like it's going to rip off so many other films, and it looks like, again, the acting isn't going to be good. And that cover to me just looks kind of cheesy. And I don't know, just it's time to let that one go. It's brand new, still sealed. This one's brand new, still sealed too. This one has Casper Van Diem. Clearly, Starship Troopers, a bunch of different movies that he's been in that have been good, but this looks like it's gonna be a paycheck movie. It's just that cover again looks like a Spirit Halloween mask to me. It's like a paranormal kind of movie. They're doing a documentary at a reported haunted hotel, and there's these demonic forces that are attacking the crew. And they have to fight to survive. And so I just feel like there's a lot of films like that recently. Grave Encounters is super underrated. It only has a DVD release here in the US. I think the sequel has a Blu-ray, but not the first one. That one definitely needs a Blu-ray release, but that's one of the better modern, haunted movies. Let me know your favorite recent modern haunted movies like that, paranormal movies, outside of the Paranormal Activity movies, of course. But yeah, I don't love the look to that cover at all. So that one's got to go. And there we go. Cruel Summer is one that I think is actually a really good release from Wild Eye. But I remember they did Hell's Kitty. They did a bunch of movies that I think were like some of my least favorite movies I've ever watched. But yeah, Cruel Summer reminds me a lot of Eden Lake, but nowhere near as good as Eden Lake. But Cruel Summer is just like an unforgettable, brutal, just gut-wrenching kind of movie to watch. That stays with you long after viewing. So that's one I would watch. But again, the subject matter might not be for everybody. So, maybe check it out, read the synopsis first. Heartbreaking, but a really good, well-done movie, low-budget horror movie. And a good release from Wild Eye. But there you go. Those are the 19 horror movies, horror DVDs, and Blu-rays. Let me know if you've seen any of them. And if you are a fan of Wild Eye, they're a company that releases mostly DVDs for horror, but some Blu-rays too. Let me know what your favorite Wild Eye releasing film is. I remember they released a driller, an erotic thriller, which is an erotic take on Michael Jackson's Thriller music video. And my girlfriend and I, she thought it'd be funny to watch it, so we tried to we fast forward through it. That was just an abomination. That was so bad on so many levels. They tried to put some horror elements in there, and it just, awful. It wasn't good for the TNA. It wasn't good for the horror. It wasn't good in any sense. So that's like one of my all-time least favorite movies, worst movies I've ever seen too. Usually when people say things like that, I feel like it's hyperbole, but that one definitely works. But again, there are some movies in here that I do think are good, some ones that I'm upgrading, some ones that I just don't see myself rewatching again. But let me know if you've seen any of them and what you think of them, and let me know which one of these is your favorite, and all the other questions that I asked. Let me know what your favorite horror miniseries is, outside of like It. I feel like It gets a lot of love. And let me know what your favorite underrated Stephen King adaptation is. One that I think is really underrated is Storm of the Century. Night Flyer, another one, really good, underrated vampire movie in my opinion, but Storm of the Century, I love the heck out of that one. Love to see that one get a Blu-ray release. But some really great Stephen King adapted miniseries out there. Again, The Stand is definitely up there for me. There you go, though. Let me know what you'd like to see get released on 4K for horror in the future, too. It's great to see 4K getting a lot more horror releases. I feel like in the beginning, there weren't many. And then all of a sudden, we get a big push and wave. And I know a lot of people are complaining because we get, the Blu-ray release, and then like a year later, we're getting the 4K release. But I feel like that's just the way it is with the marketing and these companies. They know what they're doing. It's all about making money off the consumers. And I'm happy that we're getting the 4K treatments for these films. I mean, how many different releases of Halloween and Evil Dead have there been? And they keep, every year they release something with a new slipcover, new artwork, something like that, a steelbook, whatever the case may be. So that's just the way that business model works. But I'm happy that we're getting these awesome horror releases, especially some ones on 4K. I'd like to see some more special features though on them too. But there you go. I hope you enjoyed this What Didn't Make the Shelf, aka collection video, all horror version. And I look forward to more of these videos coming up in the future because I'm always trying to thin down the collection. Every day I take like a movie off the shelf, and then when I get a big enough stack, I'll do one of these videos. And I enjoy talking about the movies as well, not just showing them for a quick second and going to the next one. I enjoy the interaction. I like hearing your feedback. Even if it's a differing opinion than my own, I can appreciate that. But hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope everybody's doing well. Take care.